Okay, now expressions. Expression is when you have two or more terms that are added or subtracted. Notice here, girls, that it's only for addition and subtraction. They're not talking about multiplication and division, okay? So two or more terms that are added and subtracted. And here we have two examples. 5x, which we already know that is a term, plus 4y, which is another term. Take away 8z, which is another term. Another example, negative 2xy, which is a term, this whole thing is a term, plus 3b. Okay, here it says this expression has three terms, 1, 2, 3, and the second one says this expression has two terms. Okay, so this is what is called an expression. Then we have equations. So equations have an unknown pronumeral and an equal sign. So what distinguishes an expression from an equation is that equal sign. We have an example here. 2x, which is only one term, equals that equal sign 8. Okay? So here we have 2x equals 8 is an equation, but 2x plus 8 is an expression. But we have different here. Of course, 2x plus 8 is an expression. It's like the one that we have here with two terms, but it's not the same as what we have here. Here we have an equation because it says 2x equal 8. Okay? Wonderful. So here, I want to go back to what we have here, this example. And I want to see in this expression, the first one that we have here, we have three terms, okay? We're going to analyze each one of those terms. The first term, what is the coefficient of this term that I'm circling here? So I'm hoping that you're saying it's 5. Agree? This 5 here. Wonderful. Now, the second term, what is the coefficient of this second term? Is 4. Wonderful. What about this last one? I'm going to write this one down because I want to explain something with this one. So when we're talking about terms, we're still talking about terms. I'm going to talk about this term that I have here. Negative 8z. Negative 8z, which is the last term of that expression that I had there. What is the coefficient of this term that I have here? So the coefficient, look at this. It's not only the 8, it's negative 8, okay? Now, you might be asking, but why, Miss Ochoa, here you said only 5, and here you have a plus 4, and you're saying only 4? Because when we are talking about positive numbers, we usually, if I say 4, you know that I'm talking about positive 4. It's implied the positive. But when it's negative, we have to specify. Actually, I'm talking about a negative 8. Okay? Let's look about this term that I have here. What is the coefficient in this term? So it's negative 2. Agree? And this term, what is the coefficient here? Is positive 3. Or 3. Agree? Wonderful. Now, let's look at this graph that we have here. In this graph, it says, okay, we have a variable or a polynomial that is called y, which is also a term. Agree? Then it says y is equal to 3x plus 2. The first thing that I want you to notice is that all these things, 3y equals 3x plus 2, is an equation. Why is all this an equation? Because I have an equal sign. Okay? Wonderful. But here I have only one term. Okay, this y is a term. So remember that an expression can consist of only one term also. So this y is one term, which is also an expression. Over here I have two terms. Which ones? 3x plus 2. 3x is a term, plus 2 is a term as well. Okay? And a term plus a term only is an expression as well. So this thing here, this whole thing here is an expression. So I have an expression that is equal to an expression, and the whole thing is an equation, okay? Now let's look about here. We have y, this first term only have one pronumeral or one variable, okay? Wonderful. In this term, I have a coefficient that is 3 and the variable that is x. And in the last term, it says that it's a constant. We haven't looked at this one, constant. Why is that constant? Because it's not changing, because it will always be 2, because it doesn't have a variable, it doesn't have a pronumeral next to it. So when we were talking just here about terms and we gave all these examples, we can include something in our notes here, and that this one is a constant. Why is a constant? Because it doesn't change. It doesn't change. It doesn't have a variable or a pronumeral next to it. It will always be 3 because I don't have anything else. Whereas this one will change depending on the values that these pronumerals take. Remember that these pronumerals represent a number. So depending on what number they are, then the expression will change. But 3 will always be 3. Okay? Wonderful.